Welcome to Lesson 9, How do I teach students to develop and use content vocabulary? In previous lessons, we've talked about the challenges of managing large amounts of vocabulary and remembering the concepts that are attached to those words. We emphasized using mnemonics, scaffolding, Socratic questioning, and structured repetition using a multisensory approach as ways to memorize information. We've talked about the importance of developing 5 takeaways from a lesson and presenting those takeaways to the students initially so that they have a global concept of what's going to happen during their learning. In this lesson, we're going to look at ways to attack and use content vocabulary. It's impossible to develop an understanding of a concept if you don't have the underlying vocabulary used for that concept. Pre-teaching vocabulary is so important to helping students build a strong understanding of a concept or idea. I've seen classrooms where the phases of the moon are represented with Oreo cookies, with larger and larger bites taken out of them until you get to the new moon. Yum! Here's an example of pre-teaching a unit for cells. Let's zoom back out. It's never too early to start teaching vocabulary development. For example, let's start teaching kindergarten kids the concept of democracy. The idea is to always build on an idea you've presented before. In kindergarten, you might start with everyone has a say. And as you move up through the grades, next, everyone has a vote to say what we want to do. Then, everyone can vote for the choice of rules or people they want. Later, every citizen can vote for laws and leaders. Then, every citizen can vote to elect the leaders and lawmakers they choose. So you're moving from a very simple definition of democracy, and you're just hanging more information on that very simple definition. One of the simplest ways to introduce new vocabulary is through the use of pictures, such as those found in a visual dictionary. These visual dictionaries are available at a variety of grade levels and with a variety of complexity. If you're reading a story about constructing a building and you don't know the difference between a hammer, a chisel, a table saw, or a circular saw, or a screwdriver, you're likely to miss the important parts of the lesson. If you're unable to access a print version of a visual dictionary, there are online visual dictionaries available that serve the same purpose. These types of activities certainly benefit children who have language challenges, either being new English learners or those who have some issues related to language that make it difficult for them to know the names of things. Another example of a useful vocabulary tool is this page called In My Own Words. It allows a student to describe an object or concept or an idea in their own words, including a drawing. Because as you remember, children construct meaning from their own experiences. Of course, it's important when you use in my own words to make sure that you guide your students through a correct global understanding of the word. Another example of a way to use vocabulary development is the Frayer model, which is a graphic allowing students to see how a word is like or different from another word. And it allows them to define the concept or idea in their own words. Again, when this tool is used, it's very important to check back with the students to make sure that their global understanding of a vocabulary item or concept is correct, and that can only happen during a recheck, perhaps of the entire class, where each student has an opportunity to express what they think a word, concept, or idea means. I love this particular tool because if you're reading, for example, a story or a chapter, you look at the first paragraph and the student picks out 3 important vocabulary words. The same in paragraph 2, and paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. And then in the box at the bottom, using these vocabulary words, they construct a global meaning of what they've read over the entire chapter. As always, here's the QR code. Please use the QR code to contribute information, to evaluate how effective this presentation was. I thank you for your time. Have a great day.